Welcome to our Monsoon 2018 special. I'm Chief Meteorologist Erin Christensen. Everybody wants to know, how will our monsoon perform? Well, the outlook is in, and it calls for warmer than average temperatures July, August, and September, but also calls for wetter than normal conditions. In fact, there's a whopping 40% chance that northern Arizona will pick up above average rainfall and a 30% chance that southern Arizona will pick up above average rainfall. For the Tucson area, we normally receive just over 6 inches worth of rain. So with that in mind, we're expecting more than that.
I'm Craig Smith. If you're an old hand with monsoon, you know the frequent flutters, the spots especially likely to block your way or to risk your life if you try to drive through them. But maybe you're new to the area or you're in an unfamiliar part of town when the storms roll in. So it is good to recognize the trouble spots. This part of Harrison, south of Golf Links, floods so often the city of Tucson installed permanent warning lights to flick on as soon as there's danger. Look to the side and you'll see Pantano Wash runs right across the road. It may not be raining on you, but a wash can channel water into your path from a storm miles away. Sean Moore coordinates Operation Splash, Tucson DOT's program to barricade flooded spots. Sometimes people are just determined to take their chances.
If there's water present on the road, you cannot see the road. Therefore, you cannot determine the condition of the road. You don't know if a section of that road was washed out 30 minutes prior to you arriving there. And also, it only takes about 6 inches of water to cause a small car to lose traction, and only 3 to 4 inches of hard flowing water that cause them to lose traction.
A map on the Operation Splash website lists 20 constant offenders, but it pays to be cautious everywhere when it rains. Pima County Flood Control has water flow sensors set along the washes, so when water hits those sensors, they can warn transportation officials that water is headed for the roads and warnings are necessary. Tucson's Stone Avenue underpass has an 8-foot depth gauge, and even that can be covered up. Near 24th and Sarnoff, Rolling Hills Wash flows across the road. For Pima County, Tancaverde Loop is a regular flooder because Tancaverde Creek carries rain from Mount Lemmon across the road. Overton Wash floods so often, Pima County installed a gate to close off the road until it clears. Pima Transportation Director Ana Olivares says in any high water, even a large four-wheel drive can get stuck.
There's a lot of debris that comes through when the wash comes in. There's a lot of sand, but there could be rocks, there could be who knows what kind of debris is in the wash. So it's buried there, and then you can't see it with the water. So you think, oh, there's a little bit of water. You'll drive over it and you might get stuck on a big boulder, a big pipe, some kind of mechanical thing, and then you're stuck.
The safest route is to know alternate routes so you can find a drier way to get where you need to go. Craig Smith, KGUN 9 on your side.
When it gets hot in southern Arizona, we look for places to take a dip and cool off. Some of those places in nature, usually canyons with waterfalls. Hotspots, 7 and Tancaverde Falls. I'm Jennifer Martinez. I'll show you those places that can be deadly during monsoon. During the summer months, heat exhaustion isn't the only thing a hiker needs to worry about.
To be aware of avoiding the deep canyons, the narrow canyons, anytime there's a possibility of a flash flood coming down. If there's any forecast of rain or so, avoid the tight canyons. You want to stay in the wide open areas.
During monsoon, hikers need to be concerned about water basins filling up in the mountains. And while it takes a couple of hours for the water to come down, it takes just a few minutes to rise and become a dangerous situation.
It can be deadly. It can be completely dry, no rain or anything at the falls, and all of a sudden there's a rush of water coming down the canyon.
Water usually traveling 10 to 15 miles an hour.
Just all of a sudden, the water just starts rising.
Rescuers say if you plan on going into canyons, you should always have a plan.
Be aware of where you're at. Make sure you have an escape route. There's places in Tancaverde Falls if you're caught in there, there's no way you can escape.
In 2017, 17 hikers were rescued from Tanque Verde Falls, a father and a child clinging to a tree. The same year in Sabino Canyon, 26 hikers rescued after being stranded by high, fast-moving waters. So before you head out the door, check the weather, but make sure you're checking the weather for the mountains above the canyon you'll be hiking. For example, for Sabino Canyon, check Upper Bear and Sycamore Canyon. For Tanque Verde, the Rincon Mountains.
It takes a couple hours for the water to come down the streams, and it can be completely dry, no rain or anything at the falls, and all of a sudden there's a rush of water coming down the canyon.
I'm meteorologist April Madison. We see it every year, that huge wall of dust that comes sweeping across the valley, often destroying many things in its path. Dust storms are one of the deadliest events during our monsoon, killing nearly 5 people in Arizona annually. From rooftops being ripped off, trees uprooted, to multi-vehicle pileups on I-10, dust storms are often unexpected and unpredictable. They occur when thunderstorms produce strong downbursts of air called microbursts that spread out along the ground, creating dense blowing dust. I-10 travel between Tucson and Phoenix, as well as Cochise County, are just a few areas most susceptible to dust storms. Visibility often reduced to near zero in a matter of seconds. Knowing what to do when you're faced with a dust storm is key to staying safe. The first thing you should do if you encounter a dust storm is slow down and pull off the road as soon as possible. If you can't exit the highway, look for a safe place to pull completely off the road. Turn off your headlights and put your vehicle in park. That is the best thing you can do to take your foot off of the brake so that you do not confuse drivers behind you. Stay in your vehicle with your seat belts on until the storm has completely passed.
I'm Max Darrow. For many people who live in Tucson, they look forward to monsoon. It typically means a reprieve from the sun and cooler afternoons. But for many people who live in the rural areas, monsoon can have life-changing consequences. Much of Sonoyta's beauty comes from its tranquility. The golden fields go on for miles. And folks like Sonoyta Elgin Fire Chief Joseph DeWolf hope monsoon will turn them green, without ever turning them black in between.
It's a two-edged sword. The rain coming in is what we're hoping for, but we hope it gets here before the lightning comes in.
As hot wind ripples through the golden fields during the first few weeks of monsoon, possibly with no rain, the fear of fire can disturb peace of mind.
June is a scary month because you just don't know. You can get lightning without any rain whatsoever. That's what started the fire last year.
Kathleen Howard is talking about the Los Encinos fire, which forced her to evacuate. Flames scorched her property, but spared her home. Just days later, the rain rolled in, renewing her peace of mind.
Oh, you just want to go outside and dance.
And with it came a hint of color to brighten up her blackened land.
I saw little blades of grass coming up, and it really affected my heart. There was just a sense of relief and gratitude.
A year later, her yellow house still sits atop a hill of Sonoyta gold. There are some scars from the fire, but by now most of the land has healed. With monsoon just days away, Chief DeWolf has high hopes for Mother Nature.
For the monsoon to get here early and to be plentiful. If we get, 5 to 8 inches, we're getting a little more relaxed.
But until then, DeWolf and his crew will be ready to make sure these golden fields don't turn black before they turn green. In Sonoita, Max Darrow, KGUN 9 on your side.
I'm First Warning meteorologist Kyler Diggs. Lightning is something that we see very often throughout southern Arizona, especially during monsoon. And lightning is nothing you want to mess around with. Lightning, the temperature, 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 10 times hotter than the face of the sun. And something that a lot of folks don't realize, you would think lightning is actually pretty big in its size. It's actually not. The bolt that comes and makes contact with the ground, you can hold your thumb up. It's about the size of your thumb, and that little thing packs a punch. When we're talking about electricity, we're talking about 300 million volts of electricity combined with 30,000 amps. Keep in mind, your average home, you're talking around 120 volts.
Heavy rains flooded streets in Nogales last year, destroying homes and shutting down major streets. I'm Ivan Rodriguez, and I traveled to the border town to take a closer look at the floods from last year and how one man is preparing for his 20th year of monsoon right on the Nogales Wash. This was monsoon in Nogales last year. The Nogales Wash flowed at the rate of rapids, cars unable to pass through flooded streets. A drastic difference from what you'll see today. Neighbors are already preparing for future possible floods.
The wash is just about 10 feet from where our home ends.
Manuel Valderrama is about to live his 20th year of monsoon. His backyard gives him a premium view of the Nogales Wash.
I've seen trees pass through here and even refrigerators.
Luckily, in the 20 years Valderrama has lived in this home, water from the wash has never jumped over his fence. Still, he never takes any chances.
We store food, water, flashlights, and a radio with batteries to tune into the news.
Property damage wasn't the only concern last year. Heavy monsoon flooding damaged an international pipeline, resulting in raw sewage flowing through the Nogales Wash. Issuing a state of emergency, Governor Ducey sent the National Guard to control the situation after traces of E. coli were discovered and officials urged people to stay out of the Santa Cruz River. At this point in his life, there are few things Valderrama hasn't seen. For him, nerves don't come into play.
No, I'm used to it by now, used to seeing every year how the water rises near my home.
This year, you can bet he'll be watching it all unfold again from his backyard, waiting for the calm and quiet Nogales Wash to rage. Ivan Rodriguez, KGUN 9, on your side.
Every year, we're reminded not to drive through flooded areas, but there's always a select few that think they can make it. I'm Carlos Herrera, and I'll show you how Tucson Fire will come to your rescue thanks to their training. Pounding rain, strong winds, and flooded roads. All common sights during monsoon, and it's not a matter of if it'll happen, but when.
We get flooding of some sort, some kind. Some years are worse than others.
Every year, the Tucson Fire Department rescues dozens of people caught in flash floods, sometimes all in one day. And as the potential for big storms looms, all local firefighters are brushing up on their rescue skills
learning from last year.
The hope is that we never have to use it, because in the event that we're using it, that means someone is in serious trouble.
A training that starts well before monsoon and is divided into sections.
Right now you'll see the trucks behind me maneuvering through different hazards or areas that they may encounter when they're out in the field.
Tucson Fire Captain Andy Skaggs says the first and most important of them all is actually practicing how to safely get to the location and where to set up, especially in a scenario like this one, in which first responders are simulating someone being trapped on top of a car and surrounded by water.
If we park too close to the water, you know, it might be an acceptable level when we get there. However, as the scene progresses, that water level rises and the truck now becomes a victim of that water as well.
Not an easy task for crews since time is of the essence. Making the right choice quickly is crucial.
You'll be bringing the ladder in about 15 feet above the victim. A firefighter will be dressed out in swift water gear, move up the ladder, clip in for safety, and then lower the rescue ring to the victim.
Tucson firefighters determined the method of rescue based on the situation. In this particular case, they're extending their ladder and helping the person climb off of the car, hoisting the victim using the rescue ring, and suspending them above the water by tightening a ring around the upper torso. Captain Skaggs says this was an overall successful drill, but he says there's always room for improvement. That's why the last part of the training is important as the rest.
They're debriefing on what they just learned in the training, talking about what went right, what went wrong, what they can improve on.
And as first responders continue preparing for the worst ahead of monsoon, they're hoping you'll make the right choice to turn around. I'm Carlos Herrera, KGUN 9, on your side.
Nobody's immune. Mother Nature is unforgiving.
Flash floods during monsoon can happen in minutes.
It's chaotic, it's fast. We're given an order to go. We show up ready to go.
The Tucson Fire Department says this is one of its busiest seasons. Monsoon rain falls, turning streets into rivers, trapping any car in its path that dares to cross the unknown. In 2016, a swift water call near Fort Lowell and Oracle, an SUV swept down a wash and ended up pinned against a concrete bridge. Crews had to break into the rear window and pull the driver out to safety. Another just last year on the northwest side.
The gentleman was in a vehicle, pickup truck, and went to go across the river, and the water just rose way too quick, and I guess the truck stalled, and he was trapped inside the truck with the water rising.
An 8-person crew locked arms and rescued a man in knee-deep water.
I was just happy to help. I was happy to be there, happy to help.
TFD says water can rise too fast sometimes, and in some situations, they may not be able to help you.
There's been other rescues where I've watched people wash away, and knowing it was going to be their last minutes of life. And there's nothing that we can do to help them.
In September of 2014.
Close the window. No, don't. The water is coming. It's going to be over the windshield soon. What are we going to do?
A couple attempted to drive across Cadillac Wash when strong waters picked the vehicle up and pushed it downstream. The husband was able to make it out. His wife, 76-year-old Julene Ross, died. As for this year, TFD's motto during monsoon is turn around, don't drown. Whitney Clark, KGUN 9, on your side.
Monsoon storms have the power to knock down trees and snap power poles. When that happens, the lights go out. That's when Tucson Electric Power springs into action. I'm Kevin Boughton, and I'll show you how crews repair the damage and get the lights back on. Ugh. If you're like a lot of people in Tucson this time of year, opening the electric bill can get kind of scary. Well, you're not alone. Tucson Electric Power says when the temperatures go up, so do calls into their offices from people who say, hey, my power bill is so high that something has got to be wrong.
We do check into those reports, and what we find is that very simply people are using more power to try and keep cool.
TEP spokesman Joe Barrios says simple things can help save you money this summer. Start with the thermostat. TEP says set it at 78 degrees and keep bumping it up until you've reached the temperature that's comfortable for you.
The idea is that if you're willing to make adjustments to where your thermostat is set, that can help to keep your bill down.
Windows, especially older ones, can let heat in. That's why TEP says to keep them covered during the day, especially in the afternoon. Also, look around your home. Turn off your TV or computer screen if you're not using it, and consider replacing light bulbs with LEDs.
Every little bit counts.
Barrios says TEP workers improve the power grid year-round so that when the temperature spikes, the AC keeps working.
That's why we feel our job is so important, especially during the summer, because we know everyone's counting on us so that they can run their air conditioning when it's extremely hot.
There are more things you can do to keep cool and save money this summer, including ways to get rebates on your power bill from TEP. We have posted that information on KGUN9.com. I'm Kevin Boughton, KGUN 9 on your side.